Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the United Stands. The title of this video, the thumbnail of this video says winning team, that being me and Beth. It's nothing to do with United, although it's not going that way. But yeah, you've got me and Beth this afternoon going over the time of year. Well, it's not. It's about four of them, obviously, because they're quarterly, Beth. But the powers that be are forced to come out at this time of year and actually open their mouths and speak to people. The quarterly figures are in, and a lot has been said along with it. We're going to get into that, but uni good, Beth? Good day so far. The sun's out in Manchester today, so it's like being back in Madrid, isn't it? Apart from the temperature.
The sun's out here as well, to be fair. Obviously, been in uni this morning, back in after this show. They call it commitment. A little bit tired, but yeah, ready to get through some of these comments that I've not really seen much of because I've been at uni, so it'll be good to kind of have my initial reactions while we're live with everyone as well in the comments.
Yeah, so let's get into it. I mean, John Murtaugh first, coming out with his comments in terms of what happened when Ollie was let go. It's obviously been published online exactly what it cost United to get rid of Ollie. Around about 10 million for the coaching staff, 7 of that going to Ollie. So sort of got that out of the way. That's been made clear. We already knew that, let's be honest. But going into it, he talks about the quick turnaround of Ranić coming in after Ollie. So we saw a quick return to improve results and consistency under an interim manager in Ralf Ranić following a run in October and early November, which seen the departure of Ollie. We know that continuing that consistency is key as we strive for a top four finish. I want to reiterate, however, he's covering himself here, he's hedging. However, this is not the ultimate objective of Manchester United, and everyone at the club is focused on challenging for the top trophies. Beth, what's the top trophy in the eyes of this football club?
It's Premier League and Champions League, isn't it? Which we've been nowhere near in years. So it's like, for me, it's like, it's just completely contradicting yourself coming out saying we're challenging for the top trophies, which obviously are the Champions League and the Premier League, yet you're doing, for me, what it seems this year, we've completely written off both of them by the January transfer window we've had and by appointing an interim manager and not actually going out and doing what needs to be done, getting the right manager and starting a new plan. You can't waste any time in football. And I feel like, even though how much I like Ralf, and I think Ralf's been a very good appointment, and I wouldn't even object to him taking over, like you said, for another year. Like, I do really rate him. I do think the club has been very behind and just trying to cut the losses and wait to reinvest in the next manager that they come across. But you can't do that. If you would have give Ralf something in January, we could be getting into the Champions League next year, which seems very unlikely now. That's still not even a top trophy. That's just standards. That's just basics. You could also be having a further run in the Champions League with the squad we've got. Champions League, look at the teams in there. It's very, very hard to see us getting far in the competition, even though Manchester United fans clearly want that to happen. But obviously in January we writ that off as well. So it's disappointing and it's contradicting to me.
Yeah, so I mean, going back off that, and well, he was trying to explain what had happened and the striving for the top trophies. I mean, like you just said then, Beth, we take that with a pinch of salt because we're the ones that are watching this dross every single week. And to be honest, when you don't back a manager in January, then you're not really helping him in that so-called challenge of getting top four that they've said there. But he also says on the back of that, we are now conducting a thorough process for the appointment of a new permanent manager who will take charge in the summer with the objective to get us back to challenging for these domestic and European titles. See how I left that last bit off there for you, Beth, just so you could form your opinion, not be swayed by what Arnold's actually saying. But in that, I think we knew, obviously, that this time they are going to stick with that plan of interim, then permanent. They're not going to go down the Ollie route. I mean, we've talked then just about Ralf staying on, but it feels a little bit different now on this one, Beth, and the fact that we're actually saying Ranić is an option to carry on. I mean, the names keep coming up, and this conversation keeps coming up within the fan base. Honestly, I don't think there's one particular manager that the fan base are all completely in on right now, because we're seeing the players and we don't know who's going to be left, Beth, in the summer for these guys to work with.
It's going to be a very, very strange situation, what is going to happen, and it's still really unknown. I mean, I was going to say, but then with the top trophies, I wouldn't be surprised if they started handing out trophies for training ground winners at the moment, the way that we're going. Honestly, it's tough to see how far back we have gone, and what really needs to happen in the summer, we get a manager in, a permanent manager, which I am on board with 100%. Just because I like Ralph doesn't mean I'm against us getting a permanent manager. As long as Ralph's still there and kind of having some sort of influence, which you know he will be, I think that would be really important to Manchester United and to incomings, outgoings. He already knows the players as well, which is very good for the new coach to come in. He'll kind of get a sense of what's going on. And with the new manager, obviously you've got people who want Ten Hag, you've got people who want Pochettino. This manager, as we can gather, is going to get given time. He's going to get given investment, hopefully. But it's going to be very challenging for him at first coming into this squad. And he's not going to be able to change it all overnight. He's not going to be able to get all the players he wants in the summer. There's loads of positions that Manchester United are going to need. There's going to be loads of outgoings. And the squad, for me, from what I can picture and the way that Manchester United go about things, it's still going to be short coming into next season. Just from what I can gather now with the current squad we have, it is very behind, very behind. We've got some very key important players that need coaching and need bringing on. We've got some great youth players. That's the positive side of things. We've got the likes of Rafael Varane. We've got the likes of Bruno Fernandes, who it seems like he's going to be staying, and he is an important player despite his poor form as of late. There's Sancho, a young player that's going to come on. Alanga as well. We've got some key players there, but we're going to need a lot of reinvestment. Fullbacks areas need looking at, midfield, striker. You look at that, and that's nearly a full team. So you can't expect everything from this manager straight away, but what you really want to be seeing is Manchester United going into this summer with the objective that is just said, which is going to win European domestic trophies. That's what we need to be aiming for. And you want to see that in the transfer window. You want to see thought behind the signings. You want to see getting players that we need, not getting players for shirt sales and money. We want to see a plan, and we want to see Manchester United actually start acting like a football club. But whether that'll happen every year, we seem to hope it does, and then it doesn't. So you've just got to stay positive.
That's it. Positivity is key in all of this, and it's hard. It is really hard, to be honest. But quick shout out to Alexander there, mate, on the super chat. Cheers for that. You're more than welcome, mate, for that. I'm glad you got. I'm glad you got a ticket and was successful. Cheers for that one, mate. But yeah.
So what I was just going to say then is, with two options of managers, Pochettino and Ten Hag, this is why a decision needs to be made quite soon, I think. I think both of them are going to take us in very different directions when it comes to signings, how they're going to manage the squad, how they're going to work with Ralph. So a decision needs to be made is to put in place what's going to happen in the summer and plans for the summer when it comes to getting players in and shifting players out.
I mean, on that, it's like we said there, it's like the board expect trophies. That's what they're saying. So it is really down on them to make this decision sharpish, make it the right one, Beth. But like you said then, it's like, how much are they going to back him? Because all the money that they've pumped in, the owners have pumped in, or what they will say, I won't say pumped in. It sounds like they've actually given us money instead of taking it out of the club, done it? But all the money that they have spent so far is pretty much leaving. Is walking out the door. So does that mean that this manager, the next manager, is going to get that amount of money to spend in the summer? That's the big question, Beth. I mean, from what I've read, it's not been mentioned whether he's going to be given any resources at all. It's more a topic of, we are doing it this way. We're doing a thorough sort of search for a new manager, one that's going to fit the bill. But again, it's like putting him right under the pressure cooker. If you're losing half the squad in the summer, Beth, and the board are expecting trophies, how long are they going to give him before them trophies come in? That's the question, because the fans are fed up as well. So when the fans start demanding, and we've seen this before, when they start walking out of games like they have done this season, then how long can this board give a new manager? That's probably the right question to ask.
You've got to, if you expect anything, you've got to give him at least the replacements for people that are going. And I mean, you need to fill a position. The simple fact is, we don't have a CDM that can play 90 minutes every game. That needs to happen. And Ronaldo's not going to be able to do everything next year if he does stay. So a striker is very, very important as well. You've got to fill them positions. Pogba leaving, a very important player from what we've seen him coming back as well. You're going to need to fill his position. And you've got the manager's own wants and needs of what he thinks the squad is going to need and who is going to go. And I just think it's not even about the money. Obviously, he's going to need a very a good sum of money to do this in the summer, but it's about going out, helping them scout the right people, bring people in with the right attitudes, the right mentality, potential to come on, but also bringing players in who have it now, that can do it now, because Manchester United, they can't wait around much longer. They need people that are going to come in and have that stardust to come into the team and turn it around right this second. And that's what they need to be looking at, where they're going to spend the big chunks of money, where they're going to find little gems. An organised plan of what is going to be happening this summer is what needs to be done. You don't have to go out and spend 100 million on every player. You can go out and you can spend 60, 70 million on a player that's ready now, that's established. But then you can go and get someone on the cheap that's coming through and help their development. You can do it for different positions, and you need to consider what needs it now and what needs it within the next year, in the future. And that's what they really need to be planning. And looking at it, and the managers as well, you look at the managers, and Ten Hag's probably used to working on a budget, used to getting players in, developing them, and finding these talents that he can mould his system. That's something that Manchester United probably needs, because of the amount it does need. The money just simply probably isn't going to be given for everything that a manager needs. You look at Pochettino with the big names he's probably going to want to bring in, and I could be wrong. He could go and find some players, and he has worked on a budget before at Spurs, so that could happen. But they need to look at what option is right for them, and they need a plan.
A plan, yeah. God, a plan has been lacking over the last since Alex Ferguson left, I would say. I think David Gill and Alex Ferguson leaving, the plan went out the window right there for me. But yeah, Harold has been talking about the financial side of things. This is one that interested me, actually, when the pandemic affecting on sales, when he said, I think what you're seeing is the stadium continues to be fully sold out. Okay, we'll touch on that in a second. Record waiting lists for each of the season tickets, and then a record level, not just for the club, but for any sports club worldwide. We believe in terms of the number of paying members and the attendance at the stadium as being very significant. Spoken like a true banker, Beth. If not there, I mean, figures number-wise for fans. I mean, me and you are seeing empty seats all over the place at the moment. I know in terms of actual figures for them and what they're seeing is a season ticket can be sold, but that person may not turn up. So in terms of the football side of it, fans are actually saying, I can't be arsed this week because the football's crap. But to them, they're saying, oh, that seat's filled because it's a season ticket, it's already sold, Beth. And they're the two sides of this football club. You've got the realistic fan football side of it, and then the financial people that are running it, looking at it in two completely different ways.
That's exactly it. Like, you look at Old Trafford, and obviously, don't get me wrong, the fans are very committed, and we have very good fans. And do you know what? That's what they rely on a lot of times to get them out of jail, how loyal and how committed the fan base actually is. And that's what's been getting them out of jail for years now. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I think our fan base is great, but it's like, with people not coming, like you say, like you've seen this introduced now, where they've sent emails out saying, if you want to refund your ticket for this game and you've got a season ticket, you can do that now, because then they're going to go and sell it on. And I think they're trying to make that not happen. But what do you expect when the football every week is like what it is? Like, it's very rare now we go to Old Trafford and we see an amazing spectacle, an amazing game that we like. I can probably think of like one or two this season, if that. And it's like, that's not good enough for a season at Old Trafford for Manchester United, and it's not good enough for the fans that are paying this amount of money every year to come and watch this football team. Like, we go every week, and when I went to the Watford game, come out at the end of it and I think, I'd rather come in. And obviously the next week I'm going to come back again, because that's what you are. You're a fan, and you get that hope back up, and you're going to support your team through thick and thin and no matter what. But they rely on that. They rely on the commitment of the fan base. And I just think the fans deserve better. They deserve to come and see better. I think the signings in the summer, despite the lack of CDM, it was showing some sort of ambition. It was, with getting Varane in, getting Ronaldo in. Whether that's been a success, people can figure that out, have their own opinion on that. And Jadon Sancho, I thought, was a good deal as well. But you can't hide behind the fact that should have happened the year before. The CDM should have been what happened last summer. There's always something missing with United. We're always just not that organised. There's always, the plan seems to be missing. And the fans deserve the plan. The fans deserve a manager they can get behind that's appointed. They deserve to see a vision. They deserve to see a manager talking about a vision for the future. They deserve to see players fighting for everything, and they deserve to see good results, but most importantly, good football. And that's been missing. And when you look at who's to blame, it's got to come from higher up first and foremost, and it filters down throughout the whole club.
Yeah. You actually took us on to the next bit there, Beth, because Arnold's also talking about enhancing business and fan engagement. And in terms of that overall leadership area, the key area is the empowerment of the leaders within the relevant skills to really drive the business and the club forward on all fronts. That starts with John Murtough and Darren Fletcher really driving the football activities, supported by the business activities that we alluded to. He's bigging up Murtough and Fletcher there. We've all wondered exactly what Darren Fletcher's role is in all of this, what Murtough is going to do. I mean, if there was ever a season or a summer, Beth, where our so-called directors of football, or whatever title they want to give themselves, they make them up as they go along these days, I think. But this summer, with the amount of outgoings that we are going to see, this is one hell of a summer to really kickstart and actually show the fans and the fans' involvement. Like Arnold's saying here, I mean, I don't know how involved the fans are going to be. I mean, Fletcher was talking on the fan forum as well. I'll touch on that before we finish as well today. But how much of a job is it now for the likes of Arnold and Darren Fletcher? Well, let's be honest, Beth, I've never done this kind of work before. And it's that old argument with the fan base again, isn't it? It's like, why did we not go and get the right people in from outside to do this job rather than working together to make it work and supporting them? Just go out, get the right man for that job, who's the expert in that area, and take this club forward. Is that not? It's what it is, but it does seem to be a stubborn message, Beth, from Arnold, that they are working with Murtough and Fletcher, and this is the way we're going forward. They believe that this is that so-called winning team that keeps popping up everywhere with every United tag at the moment. But Fletcher and Murtough, I'm going to be honest, Beth, in this summer that's coming up with everything that's going on, the carnage that is this football club at the moment, I've not got a lot of hope, I'll be honest, just from my own view on this, because it's a job I wouldn't really want anyone to be doing, even the most experienced. But you'd have had a little bit more hope if someone who had done this before was here right now, wouldn't you?
It's a tough job. It's a tough job for anyone this summer. One of the hardest jobs probably in football at the moment, like trying to figure out what's going on with this Manchester United team and getting players in, because the standard is for the fans, and the standard should be with the board, and what they've said the standard is winning trophies. And this team is behind that. They're not there. They're just not there, and it needs to be there after this summer. Whether it's going to be or not, they need to at least get close, and they need to try and get to that point. And one, they've got a manager coming in to deal with. You've got what the manager wants, what the manager needs. You've got players they've got to deal with, outgoings, incomings. So some players are definitely going to be leaving. Players on contract who aren't performing well enough. What are you going to do with that? There's a lot to think about. And there's the money situation as well. They're not going to give us all the money in the world to throw at this. They're just not going to. And Manchester United needs a lot right now. It needs a lot of investment. And it's hard to believe with the amount of money that we've spent over the last 10 years, it still needs a lot more, because we've spent it wrong, because of contract situations, and because of the same issue, Adam, that we've not had footballing people in charge of this money in the past. And managers have been said no to. Managers who we've employed who have the ideas around football have been told no on certain players, and have been told by the board who they're going to get instead, the board that don't know football. So yeah, it would seem like you're going to employ someone that does.
Okay, I lost Beth mid-flow there, guys, it would seem. Perfect poll for Beth. Is she coming back? Is she coming back? I think she would be coming back. I don't know if it is just me who's here at the moment. Look, which screen am I going in? There we go. Guys, I think what we're alluding to there was, what involvement is everybody going to be having within the United hierarchy going forward? Beth was touching on there, like, the amount of people that they're going to have to be dealing with, the contracts and stuff. But what's more important, I think, is like Fletcher and Murto say in their job actually now going forward, they're going to have to deal with Ralph Rangnick, because where is he going when he finishes? And I'm looking at it going, okay, so he's going to have his input. Is he really involved in the say-so of the next manager, for instance? That's a key question. And from reports that we've seen this week, we can look into it and say, look, it's a definite or not. But we know for certain that there's no guaranteed concrete evidence that a manager is in place right now. I do believe a manager needs to be in place now. Springtime going into like April at the latest, because if you have got targets, these targets aren't going to be for the new manager. And if they are going to back the new manager, and if they are going to say, give him time, like we spoke about, then surely that manager would want his players in place. I think I've got Beth back now. I'm just going to try. But there she is.
I'm back.
She's back in the house. She's back. Can you remember where you was up to, Beth? I was just touching on actually what the likes of Murto and Fletcher will have to do and who they're dealing with. But they're going to have Ralph possibly to deal with upstairs as well, aren't they? And his say-so.
Yeah, exactly. So I was up to the point where I was saying that they need a football person in charge of this. They've not had it for so long, and it's just they've basically thrown money at it. We can't complain and say they've not given money. We've thrown money at it, but we've made the wrong decisions with the money that we've had. And that's a problem. And we've invested the money wrong. And that's because we've not had the right people in charge. Despite what we say about Fletcher, at least he has know-how around football and that sense of it. So it's something. But you think to yourself, Manchester United, the biggest football club in the world, like they like to say, the most fan engagement, the most this, you think they'd go out and get the best in town for the job that is most crucial for a football club, which is the director of football role, which is in charge of bringing players in and finding new talent, knowing when to move players on, knowing what to do with contracts. It's a massive, massive job for any football club. And if you've got the best football club in the world, like the same, which I agree with the best, I like to think with the best fan base in the world, the best football club in the world, but you need to employ somebody to do the job properly. And that's what they've not done. And if you keep doing the same thing over and over, which is give it to these people that aren't at the top of the field and don't know what they're doing, you're going to have the same results, which is what we've seen over these years. They need to look at what's going wrong and fix it. I mean, I hope Murto and Fletcher do a good job in the summer. I really do. It's a massively hard job. They've got a chance to prove themselves here. And I think last summer, bar the CDM, it was a very good window. They've got a chance to prove themselves this summer, and let's hope that they do that, and we'll get behind them and hope that happens. But I'm very shocked that Manchester United hasn't got anyone in to do this job properly, someone who's really at the elite level, who Fletcher can work under. Like, you can have someone that he can work under. And then Ralph, I think, is you've got to deal with what he wants as well. He's been in and around this squad, and he has a right to an opinion and a right to what's going to happen. So you've got a lot of voices in there, and they need to come to conclusions, and they need to follow people that know about football. And Ralph is definitely somebody that if I was them, I'd be looking to, and I'd be following his advice very clinically.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher has been speaking as well. He has been on the fan forum as well. I'm going to touch on what Arnold sees as the people in right places regarding the fans and stuff like that. But Fletcher has been talking, and one thing I would hope would come from this, Beth, with Fletcher in this role, is that for me, we talked about Fletcher's lack of experience in dealing with the director of football side. Director of football isn't just the one who's dealing with the transfers and whatnot. He's also dealing with the youth system, the loan system. And he has been talking about players that are out on loan and hoping that the likes of Menge, Laird, Garner, Diallo, all these type of players could possibly reap the rewards of being out on loan and coming back into a situation where, well, if we don't get our acts together, Beth, opportunities may come around for some of these young players as well, because he's also bigged up Brandon Williams, who has sort of turned his season around. Menge, Williams, Laird, new backline right there. I mean, I'm not pinning all my hopes on these young players.
Sure
but
to be fair.
if one player came out of the bunch of six, though, Beth, that's what you use systems for, isn't it? They don't all make it. We know this. But if one shining light came out of it, Fletcher, I would say, and I would be confident in saying, at least he knows young football. He's been through United's academy. He knows what it takes. He'll know what's actually going through these players' minds. And if he's actually involved in that, then I'm like, fair enough. I'm really happy with that appointment, Beth, because that would be a sensible decision, would it not?
100%. And he's Fletcher's been given a bit of stick for his role at the club and what is actually going on. But you've got to say his development with the youth players and what he's done with the youth players and his involvement with that has been good to see. And he does know football, like I said before. So he's someone there that can make the footballing decisions. And this is why we said that director of football, that them roles, whoever's role is what, is a very important job, because you're going to have to deal with who's going to be able to replace players from the youth squad as well, who's going to be able to come through, who's going to be able to get a spot, and that's very important at the moment. I've said that you need to be bringing at least one academy player through every year. This year it's Alanga, which is really exciting because he's really burst onto the scene and he's doing well. He's getting into that squad and team every week, either off the bench or in the starting 11. So that's really exciting to see. But that he's come from the actual youth setup. He's not gone out on loan. You've got players on loan, like you said, Laird, Williams, Mengi, Diallo. You've got players there that need looking at and need assessing. Personally, for me, I've looked at them players and I think a couple can make it and come through. I don't think all of them have what it takes, but this is what your youth setups for. Progress the players, realise who's good enough, who's not. The players that aren't quite going to make it, you can still get good money off and they can still go on to have a good career in the league, in the Premier League or in the Championship. And you sell them on and you invest back into the first team, and that's what needs to happen.
That's what a director of football is. Yeah.
We can't keep players around for sentimental reasons. They're from the academy. If they're not good enough, not good enough, sell, move on, invest in something else that is going to be good enough. As harsh as that sounds, we've got to kind of know what's what, cut our losses, and have kind of this mentality where it's a winning mentality, not just a charitable mentality when it comes to these academy players. You need to know who's good enough and who's not, and that's an important job for Fletcher.
Exactly. Fletcher did. You spoke then about the unknown of what Fletcher was doing and what his role was. Fletcher's actually come out and clarified that today. It was Samuel Luckhurst who brought it up. He says, clarifying his role as technical director at Manchester United, he also said, with Ralph and his staff coming in and Michael Carrick and Kieran choosing to move on, we had a quick transition process. So part of my role has been to assist that. So he's trying to say, look, in the madness of what was going on with everyone with any sort of experience over the last 3 or 4 years leaving, a la McKenna, Carrick, Phelan, or not Phelan, but Ollie, and obviously I think Fletcher's just trying to basically say, my role was to assist Ralph in every possible way. And I think that's why, do you know what? Sometimes you look at that, Beth, and you go, well, that's maybe why these players are just not getting on board. They all know that there's a massive change coming again. And sometimes you think that's where the interim manager goes, well, it just look like we're just putting people in places just to try and see us through a period and get through without really much injury and much damage. But we're getting damage, and the ultimate damage will be not making top 4. But Fletcher clarifying that pretty much inadvertently tells you exactly what this board were thinking about writing this season off and what you said, Beth.
Exactly. They're just kind of getting by, trying to get top 4, hoping they'll get top 4. In very much doubt at the moment, and hoping that at least we can get into the Champions League next season and you can set the new manager up with that and getting into that competition. Despite what they say, I know that players come out and say we think we can win the Champions League, and Ralph saying we need to look at trying to win the Champions League, but come on, like you've got, obviously I'm glad they have that mentality. They've got to have that mentality, but being realistic, they've not set us up to win trophies this season. They're just not. And they're hoping that we can get top 4 and see us through to the summer. And that's something that we've all accepted now. And when it comes down to it, that's something in the players' heads that they'll have accepted as well. And that is not good for them mentally, knowing that, oh, let's just get by to the summer and then it starts. No, they've got to think it starts now. We're going to win stuff now. We're going to build this squad now. But they don't think that, because all of us don't think that. And the squad needs a massive clear out, massive. And there's the stuff that needs to happen, and the players know that as well. So it's not as if we've started this process and the players are like, it's time to go, it's time to do it. Even though that should be the mentality, in their head it's like, we go in summer now. I mean, it might not be for everybody, and some players will be professional, but it's gonna, even if they try and say to themselves, no, we're going to win trophies this year. We've got to get to top 4. It still seeps into your head. You still know what's happening. You still know that this club has written off the season basically, and it will affect the players mentally.
Definitely, Beth. If you set yourself targets, it's easier to motivate yourself to reach them targets. If you haven't got a goal and you're just going along with the flow, you'll see the way this club is acting. It just seems like we're just going with the flow at the moment. I mean, someone sent me a post of the football club on their social media with Rashford doing keepy-ups on the warm-up. Like, look at Rashford, look at this, look at that. It's like a whole PR sort of stuff. I was like, hang on, what score was the game, United? Oh, yeah, but winning team. Yeah, winning team. Rashford can do 5 keepy-ups and then do a new trick. Well done. Yeah, tell me what trophy that wins you at the end of the day. Yeah, Jacko, that's what that wins you. Arnold was talking, and this is what I wanted to get into here, because I'm just going to read this one statement out here and see if you pick up what I picked up from it, which was, we established a new fan advisory board in addition to the expanded fans forum quarterly meetings already held. We also announced a new role of head of fan engagement, an important appointment to drive the new era of fan and club relations. This club is a Manchester institution with truly global appeal, and digital innovation is key to that, taking the club into the new era of digital engagement with a fundamental opportunity and a strategic imperative. Earlier this month, we announced a new exciting partnership with Tezos and a new shirt sponsorship deal, blah, 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 blah. But talking into fans and fan interaction, Beth, within the same paragraph statement, went straight into a sponsorship deal and talking about making money. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Can you actually not see where your priorities lie within that? That pretty much summed everything up for me in all of this, Beth, because we've gone from the importance of fan engagement, which is key, which had a game called off last season, which had damage to the stadium, fans actually protesting against the regime and the ownership of Manchester United. And that's what that was. It's gone straight down into a new shirt sponsorship deal within the same statement. I'm just like, it's just never going to change, Beth. And that's why we're all taking these statements with a pinch of salt.
This is the point. You'd think if they were really bothered about fan engagement and how the fans feel and how the fans are to feel about the team and rewarding the fans, you would think that they would have changed after obviously not only the protests, but how they know what the fans think of the way they're running the club. You do, and you'd think that they'd change. But what happens every time there's a little bit of controversy and there's something happens like the protest happened, is they do something to pull the wool over the fans' eyes and they hope it goes away. They don't actually sit there and think to themselves, how do we change? How do we engage the fans in a way to help to reward the fans? How do we make this a happy community, a happy football club with everybody involved? You don't think like that. And you know what? They'd actually probably make a lot of money that way as well. Having happy fans is something, and a relationship with the fans as the board and the owners is something to really be proud of and something that can make you money in that sense. But they think about the figures, they think about the numbers, they think about the sponsorships. In that kind of sentence that you just said, saying about digital interaction, fan interaction, digital, online, and then going into sponsorships, for me that says social media engagement, clicks, and people seeing these sponsorships online is probably the most amount of audience that they can reach. So that's what they're bothered about. And that's probably why we get all these training pictures in the new kits and everything, because they want to reach the most amount of people possible and they want people to click on it and press buy. And that's the sad part about it. They know in a sponsorship deal they can make more money than what they can make from winning a Champions League or Premier League. And it's sad.
Oh, God, yeah, it's embarrassing, to be honest. It really is. I mean, that social media video of Rashford did, and the guy who sent it me, he said the same thing. He went, this club, literally, that's all he had to say. I went, yeah, that pretty much sums everything up. It really did. I mean, you said pulling the wool over the eyes. Are you taking or looking anything into the fact that they've frozen season tickets for 11 years straight, Beth?
Oh, honestly, don't. It's just every decision this club makes, it's like, oh, you feel like you're pulling your hair out at them. every time it happens, it's like, God, like when they send you them text messages, sorry about the food and drink not being on today, while mid-game, it's like, just like, they're just so out of touch and so like unthoughtful, in my opinion. They do some good stuff. They do like the stuff they do with like the foundations and the charities and the kids and stuff like that. That is something so good. But then they come out and they do things, and you just think to yourself, please just act like a football club that cares about its fans. To stop acting like, I know it's a business, I know it is, but you can still act like a business and care about your fans and care about you, basically your customers, which is what we are to them.
It is customers, but I mean, I remember you said then that the food gate at Old Trafford the other week, that was funny. But the one that was funny was I think it was about 3 weeks ago when they announced that they were getting this whole new top of the range Wi-Fi set up at Old Trafford, and it was going to be the next thing leading United forward. A few weeks later on from that, United announced mid-game again, Beth, there is no trams and no transport outside of the stadium. So please make arrangements and organise. Now, well, we can't get signal in Old Trafford to even make prior arrangements. So you've thrown us out, 75,000 fans out onto the streets around Old Trafford, scrambling for it because you don't have a Wi-Fi that the fans can use. Earlier in the season, Beth, there was a bit of a malfunction at Southampton. Home fans and away fans were struggling with tickets and getting into the stadium. Bing, bong, bing. An announcement comes on at Southampton. All fans, home and away, will be fully refunded for their tickets for this game for the inconvenience of what has happened. We are sorry. We're looking after our fans. And that there is a football club in my eyes, Beth. That's exactly... You know what? If United did that every now and then, we probably won't be kicking up a stink as much, Beth. But
I mean,
it's not
taking
even
the
in
money
their
out
thought.
taking the money out of your account before you've even done the draw is just...
That was the best one ever. Yeah, that one was. It's like, yeah, you've just done a 0-0 draw and one of the worst games I've ever seen. Ping, email come through. Your account has been debited for the return leg at Old Trafford. I'm like, for God's sake, grit teeth.
They've got the timings right, haven't they? God.
You got to laugh, haven't you? You got to laugh at them. They know how to really hit you when you're down, I tell you.
The contracts as well they hand out to these players is just mental.
Oh, yeah, getting onto that. Contracts there, Beth, in terms of what players we've got left this season. I mean, oh, God, I'm looking at the games coming up. March, tough month. Do you feel like... Actually, here we go. So let's say Spurs, Liverpool and City. How many points are we taking out of that, Beth? By the way, guys, if Liverpool win tonight, we won't even be playing Liverpool this month. We're going to... Because that is an FA Cup weekend and that fixture will be moved. So United actually only have we'll have 2 league games this month. 3 games if we have Atletico as well, which is going ahead. But them fixtures there, Beth, how many points can you see United taking out of that? Because then I'm looking at going, that's going to leave us 7th, 8th again, back to when Ralph started.
We've got the fixtures in March. We've got City, we've got Spurs, we've got Atletico and Liverpool.
Atletico and Liverpool. And then there's an international break.
So that's a tough one, to be honest with you, to predict. I mean, with the way we're playing at the moment, I try to be optimistic, but I can't see anything less than... It'd be maximum a draw for City and Liverpool, and that is being optimistic. I'm sorry. I think it'll be a loss and a draw, Liverpool and City, and it's so sad to say, but you just think back to previously in the season where they came to Old Trafford and battered us off the park, and you think about us not even be able to score against that Watford side. And yeah, we've had chances. And do you know what? If we create the chances and we actually finish them, it could be a different story. If we do what Ralph's been doing in tough games, which is kind of seeing it out till half time and then going for it in the second half, there's a possibility. But there's also ways that we've been playing where I think, God, if we play anyone decent, we're going to get absolutely battered. So it can go one way or the other. Atletico, I actually see us winning that game. Champions League, I think we did well to get that 1-1, and it seemed very unlikely of scoring at that stage in the game at the Wanda Metropolitan, and we did. And sometimes when stuff like that happens, you think to yourself, right, okay, take it back to Old Trafford, win it there. And I think we can win. I think we can beat Spurs. I think we can get 3 points off Spurs. despite the way they are hit and miss at the moment. Spurs, they can play a very good game and then they can lose a game you expect them to win. So it's going to be a difficult month. But Liverpool and City, if I'm honest, I don't expect anything out of them games just because of how good them teams are, to be honest with you. And it's sad to say, but they're just so much higher above us.
Oh, it's levels, Beth. It's levels. I mean, you look at... I can't even start the conversation because we couldn't score against Watford. I really couldn't. I mean, the records that we're trying to avoid breaking. I mean, what was it? Ben Foster, the oldest goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet at Old Trafford now. That broke a record at weekend. I'm just like, had to be Ben, didn't it? Just had to be Ben Foster. But yeah, that is what it is. And I don't expect many points from them games either. But that is what it is. And it's going to be a tough month. Even if we don't get the Liverpool game, I still don't expect United's any other month to go and beat them again. And we need wins right now. I think if we want to get to 80 points, which was our target at the start of the season, or around that mark, I think everyone would have been happy. We need to win every single game from now to the end of the season, which is quite scary, to be honest.
Realistically as well, it's like you look at it and you think, to make up for the draws of Watford and Burnley and Southampton, you've got to beat City or Liverpool. And I mean, if we do that, then I mean, I can't see it happening.
No, that is it. That is it. Guys, let us know what you think. When the video drops in YouTube later, after the live stream finishes, get your comments in there. Keep the conversation going. That is it for now. Make what you want out of what Murto said, what Fletcher said, what Arnold said. Is the wool being pulled over our eyes again? I think it's a big question after this one because, like we pointed out there, every major point was then followed up by a business point, and it just seems to never leave this club and will always be the same. Hope is the youth for me, and hopefully Darren Fletcher in that role can bring that forward. That's the positive I'm taking out of what everything was said today. But past that, it's same old that we're seeing. Beth, cheers for coming on. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon.
Yeah, great. To kind of get some stuff off your chest, and obviously get comments in below, guys, as well, what you expect to happen this summer and what you expect to come out of the month of March, the dreaded month, and hopefully you can get some points out of it. And I've got to rush off back to uni now, but have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Guys, thanks for tuning in as always. Do give the video a like, share, and subscribe to United Stand bottom right hand corner there. But for now, we're out of here. We'll be back later on, and enjoy the week with no football and no stress of United. That's probably a big thing this week as well, everyone. But